Welcome everyone to issue 4 of the I'd Rather Be Reading Comics podcast. This issue, we've got tons of Deadpool news. Well, one Deadpool news, but we talked about Deadpool for an extended period of time. We are joined by our guest, Wolfgangg from the site, who does the Speculators Corner. He's very knowledgeable, so it might be a couple new, what you call, speculations in this issue. Other than that, enjoy the podcast. Welcome to the I'd Rather Be Reading Comics podcast. I'm your host, Jake, alongside Alan.
Present.
Ryan.
Hello.
And special guest, Wolfgangg from the
Hello.
Corner. Alright, so, news this week has been a little short. You guys wanted to talk about Deadpool and his beautiful CGI-ness. Ryan?
It was great. I mean, if you would have asked me what I wanted from a Deadpool, test reel, that was kind of it. It just goes to show that Ryan Reynolds made another poor career choice by choosing to do Green Lantern over that. He seems to be perfect for the role, and you can really tell with fan response to the test footage that is out there that people could really get behind him as Deadpool and really loved the test footage.
I thought it was good. I mean, it makes me excited for what could have been in Wolverine Origins. But
Or it could be in a Deadpool movie.
that too. Alan, you have anything to say about it?
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was amazing. The thing that gets me the most is all the naysayers about Ryan Reynolds. I think even since Wolverine, or what was it, X-Men, the Wolverine Origins movie, when he was in it, people were really disappointed, and I can't think of anybody that has a better comedic timing or just that dry. If you really read Deadpool and really know as a character, I think Ryan Reynolds hits a nail right on the head. He's perfect to portray him. He's got the physique as far as, if they stick with the costume that you saw on the test footage, it's real, true to life to the costume in the comics. I like that. And I read that they said that there's absolutely no way that it was going to have an R rating. They're going to try and keep it, they're going to try and keep it PG-13, so I don't know how.
They put dick butt in the CGI.
Oh yeah, I mean he used F-bombs and everything, but that was, like I said, that was just test footage, so I don't know. But they said that being the case, because those were in there, they just want everybody to be completely aware that this is not going to be an R-rated movie. Which, ideally for me, if you want it to be PG-13 and you want to bring all people of all ages to the theater, film it as an R-rated movie. Because PG-13, you can have people getting killed and beheadings and guns and violence and all that thing. It's still going to get a PG-13. It's the language that's going to get it an R rating nowadays. Film it R-rated, and to give it a real Deadpool twist, every swear word that he says, bleep it out and put a box over his mouth for the theater. And then for the DVD, when it comes home, then you have the option to watch it in R rating. I think that would really kind of seal the deal for me if they were to do something like that, to watch it in PG-13 and then do something quirky for all of his swear words or the really bad scenes, and then still be able to bring it home as an R-rated version of the movie. I think that would be really cool.
That would work for the character.
Wolfgangg, you have anything about it?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I think Ryan Reynolds is box office poison.
What would give you that idea?
Really,
R.I.P.
I mean, he really the numbers would give me that idea. But at the same time, I don't want to detract from the fact that I do think that he would make a really good Deadpool. I'm not Deadpool's biggest fan, and I think a majority of that has to do with the fact that there's so much hype over the character, especially lately. It seems like everybody loves Deadpool. Deadpool this, Deadpool that, Deadpool this, Deadpool that, and he's a great character. But I don't get all the hype over him. That being said, I would love to see a real Deadpool movie. I really would. But I wasn't absolutely blown away by the footage that was leaked and then eventually released. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that it was CGI. I'd love to see that more live action. If that was all live action, that would be one thing, but the CGI just kind of threw me off. Is it going to be a CGI movie? Is that just for the test footage? What is that?
It was my understanding that was just for the test footage because it was cheaper to do it that way. But they actually had Ryan Reynolds in a motion cap suit, so like he actually did all of that, and they had other guys in the motion cap suit. But it was cheaper to do it that way than actually put them on a bridge and do like all the special CGI. But yeah, I agree with you. That was kind of a detraction. But I'm not the world's biggest Deadpool fan either. But there were definitely scenes in there that I loved. I loved the little picture that he showed to the guy before he cut off his head. And I loved the line about him being the cure for injustice, or more like a topical ointment.
Yeah. It was. I mean, it was a great scene. I really liked it. I just think that for me personally, they've been talking about this movie, especially Ryan Reynolds has been talking about this movie ever since Origins came out, and it's at this point, it's like until I see a trailer, I'm not gonna devote a lot of my time to it.
I think that's smart. Like I said, he just made the wrong choice. He could have done Deadpool or Green Lantern at the time, and there was more negative heat for the Deadpool because of Wolverine Origins and the way that they portrayed Deadpool. Not so much the way that he portrayed it. I think a lot of people liked him out of the costume, like with his witty dialogue, but they didn't like with his mouth showing shut, all the other mutants' powers. I don't think they really got behind that. I think that kind of made him think that Green Lantern was the better choice, which, like, looking back at it now, can you really say that Green Lantern was a good career move for him?
No.
Huh. I like it.
Yeah,
no. So based on your speculations, should people go out and buy, New Mutants 998?
Yeah, the price is already, the price this week, due to that footage, the price on that book's already starting to go up.
Yeah, and I mean, that was already, the thing about New Mutants 98 is that it was, before that, it was already a wanted key issue. Mm-hmm. That kind of falls, as far as I'm concerned, that falls under one of those things that it doesn't, it's going to go up no matter what, and people are going to want it no matter what. This might jump it up a little bit for right now, and I think once the hype of that test footage dies down, it might die down a little bit, but if that movie does come out, then it's going to jump up again. But the point is that it's never going to, that book is never going to go down in value. It just isn't. There's too much want and desire for that issue.
And that's crazy because this book came out in the 90s when the market was saturated and they weren't putting out millions and millions of copies. So
yeah, that's a funny thing. There are a lot of copies of that issue out. There's a ton. I mean, they printed that issue, through the gates, and people still want it. There's still desire for it, and it just goes to show what a character can do.
That's got to be one of the only issues with that many, that large of a print run where that book is still fetching that kind of money. Because you're not looking at rarity. I mean, you can find those things anywhere. Yep. And they're still fetching, a minimum of about $120.
And a lot of people have 2 or 3 copies too. They're selling them online.
Yeah. You guys, just out of curiosity, any speculation? I know, like Ryan and Wolfgangg, I know you guys said you're not the biggest Deadpool fans. I am, and I don't know. There's just something about. I've always been drawn to the character, and it wasn't because of the hype. I'm not the bandwagon guy. I've always loved Deadpool. Mm-hmm. Just quickly, do you guys, is there anything that you can see, any reason why he particularly is so popular? Obviously, he's marketable, but why do people like him so much as opposed to how many other, comic book characters can you fall in love with?
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's similar but different. Like you can look at Deadpool and you can say, oh, he's Deathstroke. Oh, he's Wolverine. Like you can look at him. He kind of falls into the same sort of characters that they were putting out in the 90s as the anti-hero. But he's one of the few that has a sense of humor, which makes him stand out. And he's a character that can disappear and then come back. And he, Marvel is pimping him out right now, but when you really look at his career, he hasn't been pimped out anywhere near as bad. Like, you don't have a Deadpool in the X-Men book. You don't have Deadpool in X-Force. You had Deadpool for a while. That book went away. It became Deadpool and Cable. Now you see him in, Uncanny X-Force for a little while. But he's not as saturated in the market as, say, like a Wolverine, which I do feel like people are starting to get tired of Wolverine, not so much Deadpool. But once you start putting 2 or 3 books of him out a month, I think people are going to start getting tired of him.
Fair enough.
For me, the reason I like the character at all is the fourth wall. And I think people can relate to a character that is zany like that, and that they can connect to on that level because he breaks the fourth wall. And on top of that, he's super violent. Right, so and that's what a lot of people like about some comic books is the violence of them and the the escape from reality and the withdrawal. And then on top of that, you have him actually talking to you. He's talking to you while you're reading the comic book. So it kind of adds that sense of personalism to the book and to the character.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the complete opposite. Like, I started the run Hussein. He started Marvel Now run, and I started reading it, and I was like, okay, this is alright, but like, I'm a guy who doesn't like to read the same joke repeated over and over again, so I'm like, this is just getting too old for me, so I dropped it after I don't know what issue, but right after the Presidents, whenever that ended, or whatever.
Oh, and the Marvel Now run, so you're talking what was that, issue 8 or 9 or somewhere in there?
Yeah, somewhere in there. I was like, you know what? I don't regret ever dropping it because, I mean, quite frankly, I didn't like it. I don't like the character. I mean, he's funny and I'm going to watch the movie, but I don't like the same thing over and over again.
It has to do with the way he's written. I'm telling you right now. You look at the last volume, was it volume 5? Thoroughly, it lasted 67, 68 issues. It was just shy of 70, and most of those I really enjoyed.
I read when he was able to be killed, and I thought that was cool. But hold on, real quick, can someone adjust for me? Did they ever explain how he got his healing factor back?
Are you talking about way back in the day?
No,
I think he's talking about the last volume.
Yeah, because he lost his healing factor, and then I don't think they ever.
Yeah, because he turned into good-looking Wade Wilson.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and reread it. No.
All right. Dang it.
Yeah, I don't remember. I'd have to go back and reread it. But going back to that, he has to be written well, and this Marvel Now run hasn't done anything for me. But you look at Cullen Bunn, and he did Night of the Living Deadpool, and he did Deadpool versus Carnage. And those 2 4-issue arcs are probably some of the hardest laughs I've ever had reading Deadpool. Cullen Bunn nailed it. He writes Deadpool excellently. Mm-hmm. But the thought of him coming to getting on Deadpool ongoing, not going to happen.
I don't know. He's making a name for himself. I mean, he's got the 6th Gun coming out, which is really popular. He's writing Magneto, which is one of Marvel's more popular books.
Yeah.
He's writing Sinestro. He has the new Lobo series coming out. So, I mean, he's becoming a name. But you're right. I mean, what everyone forgets is that Deadpool only had miniseries until Joe Kelly started writing his ongoing and made him that kind of funny character. And, Joe Kelly had a really long run with him. And then when he was off of it, Deadpool struggled. And then you had Daniel Way, who wrote the run that started right after Civil War, which was really popular. But now that he's off of it, the books are starting to struggle again, and you're seeing the miniseries are almost more popular than the actual series itself.
I agree. Yeah, see, the way I look at it, I think to be able to write Deadpool, you have to be a comedian. You know, you have to be
That's
able to
what Brian
write
Posehn
new you have to be able to write new content, you know, pretty much at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
You can't keep recycling the same jokes unless, of course, you're on tour. But that's not the case with the book. You have to constantly come up with new material. Deadpool is just meant to be written with, you know, new content on a regular basis, and it's just difficult to do that with a book that comes out monthly, you know. So
Yeah, and you know, like another thing that I think really works for Deadpool is like the theater of the absurd, like things that you don't see regular heroes doing. Like you were talking about Deadpool versus Carnage, like when he shoots Carnage dead in the face with the rocket launcher.
Yeah.
like where else can that happen but in a Deadpool?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just absurd. It's like there are things that he can do that Wolverine can't do. Like you would never see Wolverine do that. Like you know who would actually be really good on that book? Warren Ellis did a wonderful before he did the Max run on Punisher. He did a Punisher run and really got into some of that really absurd stuff towards the end of his run. And I think that he would be really good at doing that. I don't necessarily think Deadpool would be jokey funny, but I think you would just get those really absurd moments with the character that I think also work. But I think that people just write Deadpool the same way over and over again, kind of like what happens with Superman.
Yeah.
And so you don't see any new ground covered with the character, which also makes it hard for the character to kind of grow and become interesting to other people.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I mean, I have nothing else to really say about Deadpool. I mean, I'm hoping it gets good reviews. You know, not reviews, but good. What do you call it?
Feedback.
Feedback.
Yeah.
When an actual trailer gets released or pictures.
Maybe maybe now that Fox's Fantastic Four movie has wrapped, they can go and actually make a good movie now. You know, maybe fans want to go see it. Like, did anyone even know that movie was filming yet? I just thought that it was like a train wreck before everything got started. I didn't even realize that like they just posted that they're done filming that movie. Like what? They filmed it in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I literally read that right before we started this, and I was blown away that they were done filming. Like they took that selfie of them all after production was done.
Yeah,
and I couldn't believe it. I was like, wait, you've already filmed this movie.
They're ashamed. They didn't want people to know that they were filming because they didn't want us angry fans showing up and stoning them during production.
Personally, I'm excited for Chronicle 2. I think it's going to be a great movie.
It's going to be really weird, though, how one of them's a giant rock and the one guy is on fire now. I thought he was dead. But yeah, I mean, like, I have never seen, like, such a PR train wreck of a movie. Like, can anyone even think back to, like, a comic book movie that had this much bad heat on it? Like, don't get me wrong. There have been movies with bad heat where people have been not behind it at all, like Elektra, but it's never been this bad. I can never remember, like, there isn't, like, if you go look at the sites, at first there were a couple people who said, no, it's going to be okay. But now, like, you know, after the actress who's playing Invisible Woman was like, oh yeah, it's not based on comic books. After it came out that they weren't even going to be called the Fantastic Four, you know, after, like, all the casting, there isn't anyone who's standing there saying, hey, I think this is going to be a good movie. I think it's going to be a wonderful train wreck to watch, and I hope they give me a free ticket for buying a DVD.
Who's the guy that's playing Johnny Storm? The black guy?
Michael B. Jordan.
Okay, I just want Michael B. Jordan, like, next week to just come out and tweet, okay, it's a facade. This movie sucks. I just want him to be honest with himself and with all of us. Like, just own your mistake. Then I'd probably be willing to see it if you yourself could admit that it's crap.
My only hope is that it's so bad that it's good. Like, that's,
good luck.
Yeah, I know, right? The only thing that I've seen so far that I was even mildly thought was cool was the reveal of the Thing.
Yeah, he actually looks really good.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by that because I am in no way, shape, or form looking forward to this movie. But I saw that, I was like, that actually looks kind of cool. I'm into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, it's comical. It's comical. Way to go, Fox. You know, way to. Part of me wonders if this is just Fox just screwing with Marvel, since Marvel is supposedly canceling all Fantastic Four comic books so they can't get free press for the movie. And Fox is like, all right, we're just going to do a really, really bad Fantastic Four movie so that when you try to do your Fantastic Four comic book again, people are like, oh, no, that was a really bad movie. I'm not going to buy the comic book.
But if Fox wanted to screw with Marvel, they could do it in other ways. Let's think. They don't only have the rights to Fantastic Four.
Yes.
So...
But the X-Men movies make money. Fantastic Four movies do not.
Unfortunately. I will say though that I'm really disappointed with this because Fantastic Four, you know, if you look back to the Silver Age of comic books, Fantastic Four, I mean every issue was a key issue. That was superhero comic books.
Yep, Fantastic Four launched careers.
Well, here's the whole thing though. I do think that from time to time you hit characters in comics that really sum up ages. Like, you know, Superman really summed up the golden age of comics, and the Fantastic Four really summed up the silver age of comics. And that these characters, though, have a hard time moving past those ages. And no one's, like, you just get recycled stuff now with those characters. I almost feel like Marvel and DC, well, Marvel with Fantastic Four and DC with Superman are almost too careful with those characters. Like, what a lot of people don't realize, the reason why we have the Batman we have right now, the darker Batman, is because Batman from the 1950s until the 1980s was on the verge of cancellation, except for a 3-year stint when the Adam West TV show was on the air. Every other time, Batman was a low seller for DC and about to get canceled. So it allowed young creators to go on that book and do what they wanted and kind of revamp the characters and bring it back to its roots. And you don't see that with Superman. And when you do see it with Superman, you get people who get all upset about the changes in Superman. When you do that to the Fantastic Four, you have longtime fans who get all upset because those aren't the books that they remember, and that's what they really want those books to be.
Yeah.
And a hush falls over the crowd.
No,
Ryan, you've silenced us.
Only because I'll agree with that. Like, you know, it's a very valid point.
It's sad. It's because those are great characters. Yeah, I'm with Wolfgangg on that. I love the Fantastic Four. I love reading those old issues. I wish that they would I had such high hopes for Ultimate Fantastic Four, and that book never got to where I thought it was going to get. And there have just been other opportunities where they could have done more with those characters, and it just hasn't happened.
Yeah,
I want to get into the mind of some of the younger readers. Like, I'm not targeting you, Jake. I'm just talking about in general, because. You look at these companies now, and they want to change things, and they think that the change that they're making is because of their younger audience, whether they're trying to bring in new readers or new viewers, or just try something different.
Now, when you say young, I'm not young. Like we're talking like comically
younger than us, younger than Ryan and myself,
but not like age.
I'm 35.
Like, I haven't read a lot of stuff past the New 52 and stuff like that. Like, I'm trying my best.
Right, but
but you're a newer reader. I think that's what Alan's talking about.
The point that I'm getting at is that you're younger than me. I'm a 35-year-old miserable bastard that likes my comic books the way that they are. Stop changing shit. You know? When you make the Fantastic Four movie with all these goofball renovations to it, I don't want to see it. So I'm wondering why Fox is genuinely thinking of the change? I mean, are they trying to come to a new age? Are they trying to relate to a younger viewing audience? Are they trying to relate to younger readers? Or are they just trying something, just throwing shit at the wall and see what sticks? Because as an older comic book reader, I like things the way that they are. They can stay that way indefinitely, and I will enjoy it. That's just
here's my opinion on what you were just talking about. Is that Fox was about to lose their rights. They had to make a movie of the Fantastic Four in order to keep the rights to be able to keep making movies. So I think to them it was, let's just try something crazy and see what happens. Because quite frankly, comic book reboots are huge right now. Right. I mean, they're in their second Spider-Man thing. They're doing all these weird things with X-Men. And I think the thought process on that is, let's just go crazy with it. Let's do something new. Let's try something, and if it doesn't work, we can just reboot it next year, and nobody's going to care.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good point. Yeah. I didn't know they had their backs up against the wall.
Oh yeah. Well,
So that would explain why it just got filmed in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Well, that's how they lost the rights to Daredevil. Like, that's why we're getting the Netflix Daredevil thing, because they lost the rights. They didn't. Well, no, because they actually had a really good plot synopsis and a really good director attached to doing a Daredevil movie, and they were afraid to pull the trigger because it was before all the Marvel movies were really starting to hit their stride. Like, Iron Man 2 had just come out.
Yeah,
so
I'm not saying I'm afraid because it's gonna be bad. I'm saying thank God because I want one. Like, I want it to happen now.
Well, you're not gonna get
a trigger.
You're not gonna get a Daredevil movie. You're gonna get Daredevil.
We're gonna get
on
the
Netflix.
show, and I'm excited about that because I'll get 12 episodes.
Which I have heard is going to be a 12-hour movie. That's the vibe behind it. Is it's going to be 12 episodes or however many it is. It's going to be like a really long movie, which I'm all about. I think it's going to be great.
I have high hopes for the Netflix series.
Netflix is good at pumping out their original series, in my opinion. All right, so anyone have any more to talk about Deadpool and movie business?
Nope, Fox sucks.
Yep.
All right. I wanted to do a little quote unquote live speculation corner with our very own Wolfgangg. Do you have anything that you want to talk about that no one knows about yet?
Yeah, I got a couple of things. The first thing I want to talk about is the new Thor. Obviously we all know that it was just announced recently via The View and Whoopi Goldberg. For some strange reason, I'm still completely blown away by that announcement.
All the
cutting edge right there, man.
Oh, no, Disney owns both. I mean, what better way to cross-pollinate two things that go great together, like a women's lib show, The View, and four-color masculine fantasies like comic books.
Yes. Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense once you step back and think about it, but immediately... Yeah, exactly. So there's been a lot of speculation over... kind of who is this new female Thor, and who's it going to be, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think the first thing a lot of people were jumping on was Angela as Thor, which is it's a decent speculation until they released the image of the new Avengers, and Angela and the female Thor were standing side by side with each other. That kind of threw that theory out the window. And the other two solid ones are Valkyrie, which I personally am not on that. I'm not on that road. I don't think that's the way it's going to go. And the third one is Jane Foster as being the new Thor, which I think is, if it's somebody that's already well established in the universe, I think that Jane Foster is definitely, the most likely, and she's probably the front runner for that. And one of the great things about that is there is actually a What If comic book. And it's What If Series 1, number 10, What If Jane Foster Wielded the Hammer of Thor, where Jane Foster actually becomes Thor. So we have that issue. And if indeed she does become Thor, that's kind of a little book that might see a little increase in value. Just because it's almost like a first appearance, right? It's like a what if that actually happens. It's and I think there's actually other what ifs that they've come up with that have actually happened somewhere in the universe.
Yeah, I know that they did a what if the Punisher was Captain America, and then they did that right after Civil War. There've been a ton of what ifs like that though, where Marvel is notorious for looking at their what-ifs and being like, hey, this would make a good go at it. I know Agents of Atlas happened because of a what-if. Like, what if the Avengers had come together in the 1950s, and it was all the Agent of Atlas characters, and so then they ended up getting their own series. So I know that they've done this in the past, so I think there's a good chance that that's actually not bad speculation. Also, Spider-Man. What if Spider-Man had joined the Fantastic Four, which he did when they became the Future Foundation?
Yes. Which was, I think that issue was a Oh, never mind. I forget. I had it and I lost it, so I'm just going to drop that. So I think if, and that book's the what if Jane Foster had become Thor is actually kind of cheap right now. I've been kind of looking it up and watching it, and if you can find it, you can find it for fairly cheap. And it looks like a great read too. So one of the things I like to keep in mind is not only are we looking at something that might be worth something in the future, but is it a great read and a nice book to have in the first place? And this one I think is. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a good book to buy up right now because it's not too expensive.
Now, if I can interject quickly, that being said, this is going to cause a lot of people to chase Jane Foster's first appearance, and I just want to be here to tell you that it's not going to be easy. Not because it's hard to find, but because it's Journey into Mystery number 84, which consequently is also the second appearance of Thor, making that book in a 2.0 over $400. So, good luck with that one, you wealthy comic reading bastards, you.
And the thing about that too, and you bring up a good point, is that it's the second Thor, right? So that book's going to be worth a lot no matter what,
right?
And another thing is let's not forget Thor's going to come back. Okay,
sure.
He's not going anywhere really.
Whoever this mystery woman that takes over the hammer and becomes Thor, it's not going to last very long. Maybe a year, maybe a month, maybe 4 years.
And then she'll get her own book.
It's not a permanent thing. Yeah, she's going to become her own character, right? She's going to get her own thing. But one of the key things that they said in this announcement is that Thor is no longer worthy to wield the hammer. Mm-hmm. Well, he's going to have to do something to become worthy again, and that's going to happen. They're not going to, they're not going to just, and for the record, in my opinion, Steve Rogers will be Captain America again. How many times have we seen him not be Captain America? It's going to happen.
5.
They don't. Is that the actual number? I would believe that.
I'm putting it off the top of my head because if we go backwards and we count Sam, then we got Bucky, then we've got Johnny Walker / Jim Beam. Yes, that is U.S. Agent's name. Both of them. Yep. And then you have the 60s Cap and the 50s Cap, so that would be 5.
Well.
I could be missing one.
I'm sure there are more, but...
And if you count Punisher, I guess that makes it 6.
Ryan is the comic book encyclopedia.
Oh, yeah.
I'm more like the Wikipedia of comics because I could be wrong. So let's just be clear about that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited about it. I mean, right now, Jane Foster, she's the spokesperson for Earth in the 9 realms. So, and what they're doing with the 10th realm, maybe it's going to be Thor's sister that's going to wield the hammer, because what they're doing right now is the 10th realm, he had a sister. I don't think it was Angela.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yep.
I didn't read last week's issue, so you ruined it for me.
You're welcome. Spoilers.
It's all good, it happens. But, I mean, I'm excited. I mean, I'm not like, oh, these women taking over our comic books. Like, I mean, it happens.
Yep. No, I think that's good speculation on the character. Marvel very rarely just throws a character in there. It's usually someone who's been in the universe before. Like, once again, look at Sam Wilson becoming the new Captain America. There's like a history there, so you have those characters who have that history. So I think that's a fair bet.
Yeah.
And Marvel loves using those what ifs.
Oh yeah. All right. Do you have any more, Mr. Wolf?
I do actually, and this is a long shot. This is a super long shot, and I'm trying to remember the girl's name, and I'm having a hard time with it. But the girl who played Starbuck in the new Battlestar Galactica series, if anybody's been following her, she has been kind of on this this rant for a while about really wanting to play a comic book character and really wanting to get into the whole, either Marvel or DC. It almost seems like she doesn't care which one. But she's been posting some interesting pics on her Twitter lately, just about of clues. Like they're really. I saw them earlier today, and I can't get a good handle on it. But a lot of people are thinking that she might be playing Miss Marvel in the Marvel comic books cinematic universe. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I know that Marvel has kind of come out lately and said they don't really have a lot of time to be focusing on the female-driven superhero movie currently. But there is kind of this buzz about Miss Marvel, and I think Miss Marvel #1 could see a little bit of a price increase sometime soon. And if something comes from that, if she does indeed end up playing Miss Marvel, I think her first appearance might really shoot up. So that's a super speculation, though. That's not, there's not a lot riding behind that. That's kind of just buzz that I've been hearing. So
That's fair.
Take that for what it is.
Yeah, that would be really cool, though.
So when you say Marvel Comics cinematics, like, what do you mean?
Like as far as the Iron Man, Thor,
okay.
Avengers, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and there's been rumblings before about Miss Marvel showing up, whether it be in her own movie or in one of the Avengers movies or one of the other movies. It's been kind of talked about a little bit. There's been hints, but it's not anything solid. Mm-hmm. A year ago, I would have said, and we have this on our corner, I would have said, yes, there's definitely going to be a Doctor Strange movie. But now, as far as Miss Marvel is concerned, I can't give any kind of definite on that. It's just too much back and forth, too much uncertainty. But if you want to, if you want to get in on that before any hype and craze happens, you might want to hop on it now. And it's not a bad issue to own either. Miss Marvel #1 is a fantastic issue, and it's her first appearance as Miss Marvel, and it's always going to be a wanted key issue. So you're not going to lose by buying it.
Yeah, and it's
Good point. Yep.
And now Miss Marvel, the one that you're talking about, Carol Danvers, is also Captain Marvel in the Marvel universe now.
Yes.
And they seem to be positioning her, because I believe she's had some crossovers with Guardians of the Galaxy recently, and she's also been appearing in Avengers and things like that. So there's a real big chance, like, she's going to be a big part of the Marvel universe regardless, and this could be just a way to kind of gauge fan reaction to the character. I think a lot like the Rock talking about, who he was going to play, and it kind of going from Jon Stewart who was kind of originally saying, to now it's sounding like he's saying Shazam.
Right.
So.
Right.
I love how Ryan can take anything and turn it into DC.
Anything.
We can be talking about cars.
Hey, to be fair, that was it was at least relevant.
It was.
Exactly.
It was. There's always relevant DC content.
Hey man, I am a DC fan.
We know. You're the resident.
I'm the only
DC
one.
Guy.
I'm willing to take my lumps for the comic book company that I grew up loving.
Yeah.
And now sort of loathe, but still kind of love.
It's like a brother,
Yeah.
You grew up with him, you were stuck with him, you learned to love him, and then as you get older, you're like, oh, God.
Actually, DC's more like that uncle that always wants to take you camping. That when you were younger sounded like a really good idea, and now that you're older, you're questioning why he always wants to go camping with you.
Oh, goodness.
And just you alone.
DC, I formally apologize for my friend.
It's all right. They get enough of my money. They don't need an apology from me.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, well, you guys read any books from last week?
Yes, I read a ton of books.
All right, give me one book, Ryan.
If I had to give you my top book, it's going to be Dead Letters. It's one of those series that I talk about all the time. The best way to describe it is a Quentin Tarantino movie. It's Quentin Tarantino meets The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, like the Spaghetti Western trilogy meets Purgatory. So it's really fun. It's a fun book. This wasn't the best issue of the series. I'm always one of those guys who talks about don't tell me a story in 2 issues that you can tell me in an issue, but also don't tell me a story in an issue that you should have probably told me in 2 issues. And that's what they do here. They cram way too much in to get the first arc finished with, so that they can kind of move on to the bigger picture of the series. But still, it's just so much fun. There's nothing quite like watching people shoot each other in the head and it really having no effect on them because they're already dead.
All right. So, buy, borrow, or burn in the pits of hell.
That's definitely a buy for me. It's one of like the 4 or 5 books that I really push.
Who publishes that,
Ryan? Boom.
Oh, okay. It's another Boom book. All right.
Yeah, Boom and Oni are like my 2 big companies outside of the big 3 that I really enjoy what they're putting out right now. In fact,
did you just say the big 3?
Yes, I count Image as one of the big guys.
That's what I like to hear. Hey, that's what I like to hear because it's always been the big 2.
No, it's the big 3 now.
I don't think I honestly in the day and age in comics that we're living in, because I remember when it was almost a 50-50 split between DC and Marvel, and now they both have a third, and then the indies have a third. So you can't really sit there and talk about the big 2 anymore because you have them, and Image is just gaining in market share almost every single week.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. I just had to appreciate that for a second.
Hey, no, man. I give Image their ups, man. They're props. They do great stuff. They're probably the best publisher out there right now.
Every week.
There's a new #1, and they get my money all the time with new #1s. The one thing that I wish that they were better at was keeping me on series, because I have like a lot of 4 issues of Image books, but I don't have a lot of complete runs. When I feel almost more satisfied when I go out and find that book by Boom that isn't a tie-in to one of their major properties, or even Dynamite finding that book that's just really good, that's a little bit off the beaten path that could be good. Like Letter 44 is a great example. Like just picking up that #1 and just loving that book. And Alan knows that I've been behind that book since the first issue came out.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. That's a great series.
Mm-hmm. And now another good speculation for you too, if the sci-fi show coming out.
Yeah, and I would love it if that went forward with things, especially with that that first issue being only $1 when it came out, and it was such a low print run, and I'm already seeing it $5, and I know $5 might not seem like a lot for a first issue, but if you consider the fact that it was $1 when it came out, that's huge.
Right.
Yep. You'd have to sell a Marvel book for $20 to get that same sort of growth in an issue.
Yeah, and I mean, if they do pull through with that and they make a good series, I can see that book jumping up a lot.
Yeah, and even if it doesn't, the book is amazing. And I think
it's a phenomenal read.
And the first trade just came out last week, so definitely worth picking up for you 8 people who listen to us.
I need it. I love the cover, the sparkly cover.
It's amazing. It is.
Awesome.
It is beautiful.
I'm gonna buy it and trade, since you give it such high praise, and I'm the trade master. I love trade.
The trade master?
Is that
your Twitter handle?
Shut up. Leave me alone.
No, his Twitter handle is comic hipster 01.
Leave me alone. Guys, I like my books, but I like them in a consolidated form.
Hashtag I only read digital.
I don't.
Hashtag
I hate digital.
Hashtag
I hate
caramel
digital.
latte.
All right, get off of me. I don't. Hold on. Let me clear one thing up. I do not read in digital ever.
I know. I was busting your
I support print, but I do read a lot of trades from Image, because you can't just read one issue. Like, it's like a movie. Like, you can't go in, watch a movie, see a commercial, and then continue it. I hate that. That's like the worst. But Alan, give me your book.
Well, I had a really small pool, and I got low #1, and that's all I got.
You raved about it last week.
I did. I would have gotten Outcast #2, but my LCS did not have it for me. It's getting ordered. So I got low #1. I read it.
Did you like it?
Oh, here we go.
All right. Why did you not like
read my
it?
review. No, I loved it. the story is fantastic. Remender takes some. If you read the afterword, he talks about how he came up with the idea, and this idea has been kind of sitting in his brain since he was a kid. And it's now we're 4.5 billion years away from when the Earth is eventually going to be eaten by the sun. But he takes that idea and thinks about it on such a large scale, and that's what we're looking at here. The story was awesome. It's something I can really get into. It's far-fetched in a sense, but at the same time, there's a realistic feel to it because this is a scientific fact. It's something that is going to happen someday. That being said, the only thing that I was so on the fence about was Takini's artwork. Takini's a fantastic artist. His art fits this story so well. It's just got the perfect feel to it. But he's got a lot. His line work, he's very sketchy. And I don't know if maybe it's not even his fault. It could be the inker or the colorist. But there's some action sequences, some action panels where I just couldn't really see or follow what was going on.
What if that's your fault? What if you cannot perceive what he's drawing?
I'm colorblind, not cross-eyed. So, no, like I said, I really enjoy Tokini's art, and I think it was really good on here. I feel like there were some action sequences were squeezed into some smaller panels, and there were some parts where I really had to kind of sit and digest what I was looking at for a few minutes before I could compose what was going on. So, all in all, that being said, it was fantastic. I can't wait for issue number 2. And it was definitely a buy for me.
Yeah, and Wolf, you before we started recording, you said you liked it because of the art.
Yeah, I did like the art. I enjoyed the art a lot, and I think it's because to me, the art adds to the story. The story is definitely really rushed as far as what's happening, you know? Things that are going on in the storyline are just happening so fast, and I think that sketchy vibe kind of adds to that, you know, just sense of urgency through the story. And I think it gives a lot to it, and I really like it. I think super rendered art in comic books sometimes is just a little too much. And I kind of like to see other styles, and I think it did really good for that. And the story was good. I really liked it. I think for me at least, as much as I liked it, I wasn't super blown away by the story, except for in the fact that I know I can see what's gonna happen, right? I can see what this is going to look like in the first trade, and I'm excited for that. You know, I'm excited for the story as a whole, as opposed to the issue alone.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great series.
Do you give it a buy, borrow, or burn?
I give it a buy, 100%.
All right. Now, do you have a book, Wolf? Or is that the only book?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm super behind in reading, but I am gonna talk for a second about a book, even though I haven't read it yet. And that book is The Wake number 10.
Yep, I want to read that so bad. I have it in my pile, but it's at the bottom, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's at the top of my pile right now. I haven't, as soon as I dive into some of my unread stuff, that's number 1. That's a series I've loved since day 1. And for me, the first half of the story, anybody that's read it knows that this is kind of broken up into 2 different stories. The first 5 issues were one story. The last 5 issues are another. And the first story was a lot better to me. But that being said, it's still been a fantastic series, and I'm as sad as I am to see it go. I love it when stories have an ending as opposed to just a continuation on and on and on. And I'm excited for this one to end, and I'm excited to wrap it up and really see what happens to these characters. So even though I haven't read it yet, I'm still giving it a buy just because I think the series has been fantastic from the beginning.
Yeah. Well, I didn't read any books this week, and I haven't finished my last week's books. But like Wolfgangg, I'm gonna speculate here. Outcast number 2. Love number 1. I thought it was a great concept. I love stuff like that. Like I like how you can build a story, and then I know in the back of my mind you can have a million different ways it can go. So I'm excited to see if and where and when Kirkman takes him. And I love what's his name, Paul as a Seta. Ryan, you're bad at pronouncing names. How do you pronounce that?
I am. I have no idea. I just call him the artist, dude.
I think it's Azaceta. I think you had it right, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that.
Oh no, we're quoting you because I get blasted every time I can't say someone's name right. So, welcome to the club.
Yeah, that does it for that. You guys have any books that are coming out next week? You wanna?
I am super pumped for The Woods issue 4 coming out.
Thank you, because that's what I was about to say.
That is, like I said, it's one of the 4 series. It's always easy to tell people what DC series to pick up, what Marvel series to pick up. But when people want something off the beaten path that's a little different, The Woods, every single issue I have loved. I haven't hit an issue where I haven't liked. They're building the characters like so well in that series, and every month I can't wait for another issue of that to come out. So I am super pumped for that. I am also incredibly pumped to be over with Doomed in the Superman books because
is it over though?
It ends. I'm pretty sure. I hope it ends. If it doesn't end,
it's only just begun.
3 parts.
No, I want it to be over with. It's bad. It's really, really bad.
It's not terrible. It's just they rushed
I'm sorry. You should never start an argument pro a book saying that it's not terrible because that implies it's not good.
No, I'm legitimately enjoying it, but I do have my usual complaints about a book. Like, how is this reflecting current universe? Like, Superman is screwed up. But like no one cares. Like
he's screwed up, but he's still cool enough to go and meet Ulysses in Superman 32 and go try to help Ulysses figure out who he is. While
31.
He's got 31.
2 with John's run.
That's when Ulysses popped up.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, I hope it ends. But at the same time, I'm gonna enjoy it.
The thing that I hate about it is that before this started, my 2 favorite books that DC was putting out at the time were Superman, Wonder Woman, and Action Comics. I looked forward to picking up both of those books every month and reading those books and getting my Superman fix that has been going on since I was 3. And at this point now, I take a deep sigh and I quickly skim the books, hoping that I will see the end of the Doomed storyline.
To be continued. No! How dare you? But The Woods on issue 4. What is it about?
It's actually like a really interesting concept. An entire high school for I want to say, is it Minnesota or Wisconsin? Do you remember? Can you remember off the top of your head, Wolfgangg?
I cannot, unfortunately. I wish I could.
I want to say Minnesota, and all these kids are in school. They're coming towards the end of their school year, and their school is teleported to an alien woods.
Okay.
And what the story sort of breaks off into 2 parts. You have your main student body and your students who are staying in the school, and you also have 5 or 6 students who are being led out on this adventure by one of the students who thinks he knows what's going on out there. And so you get like a really good sort of Lord of the Flies feel for half of the issue, where it's kind of like you have students and teachers vying for control, so it sort of has that political thriller part of it. And then you also have this great, like, sort of adventure story a la Lord of the Rings where they're going on this venture to figure out why they've been taken to this woods and why all this stuff is going on.
And I think Boom makes it?
Yes, Boom does publish that book.
Right,
I think you hit the nail on the head for me as to why I love that so much, is that there are 2 things going on. It's like a central storyline, but there's 2 separate sides of it. And
absolutely.
That for me, the fact that they can funnel those 2 stories and flush them out so well just makes it such a great read.
Absolutely.
Right. You said Lord of the Flies. I'm jumping on that on Wednesday. I love Lord of the Flies, man. That was one of my favorite forced to read books I've ever had.
It's just really cool too because whenever you're writing a book like that, it's real easy to say one side is right and one side is wrong. But what's really cool is that you see why the teachers are needed because they have a little more life experience than the students, but you also see that the teachers aren't necessarily, like, just because the teachers are older doesn't mean they necessarily know what's best for the students or what's best for them on this alien planet where they do have to worry about like mutated bears attacking them and giant vampire bats. So it's like a really cool story. I love the art for it too. But yeah, man, every time that book comes out, I get a big old smile on my face.
All right, Alan, you got any books you care about for next week?
Yeah, next week is going to be my favorite week ever for comic books.
Give me one reason.
Yeah, I'm going to give you 3. Nailbiter comes out.
Okay.
Spread number 2 comes out.
All right.
Moon Knight comes out. Those are probably my 3 favorite books to read right now. And I know it's hard to say that about Spread because it's only had 1 issue, but it was amazing.
It was a fun issue.
It really was. I think the guy being named No sold me right away. Because in the very first line, I think the very first page, you read it, and you think it's a typo. Because the way that they said no, I'm like, wait, is that supposed to say no? Is that a typo? Then you realize that it's his name, and you're like, oh, this is amazing. It's so good.
It took me 2 or 3 reads to figure that one out.
Yeah. I think if I had to choose one of them, although Nailbiter and Spread are probably right on the top of my read list, I'm really, really, really anxious to see how Warren Ellis and Declan Shalvey are going to end their run on Moon Knight. Number 6 is coming out. It's going to be their last one before they move on and leave it in the hands of Woods and Woodland. James. Both guys have Wood in their name.
Alan's got Wood on the brain.
I've got Wood for number 6. No, yeah.
I hate you so much.
Yeah, insert terrible joke here. No, I'm really excited about it. I hate to see Warren Ellis go, and I think he's got some big shoes to fill on that book. I know the new creative team is confident that they can kind of pick up right where he left off and take over, but it's been, for somebody who always kind of secretly had a man crush on Moon Knight but never read any of his books, to now, this day and age, coming and reading this new series, completely making me want to go back and read everything that was in the past Moon Knight. I'm super excited for this issue, and I love the way that the series is going, and I really hope that these guys can keep the pace.
As a longtime fan of Moon Knight, I've really enjoyed this run, especially after the Bendis run, which I was not a fan of. I know some people were.
Don't say that word when Wolfgang's around.
I like it.
We don't
He's
talk
not even
about
a
Brian
name.
Michael
Bendis is a word.
Presence.
Okay. I did not. I am not a fan of Bendis by any stretch of the imagination, which I know I'm sure is sacrilege because I'm from Cleveland, so I think I'm supposed to love him and Brian K. Vaughan equally. But yeah, I've never been a real big fan of his. But as someone who's read Moon Knight since the Mark Spector days, because that's how old I am, this was probably one of the more satisfying runs of the book. And I'm interested to see where the new creative team goes. And I'm just interested to see what the issue is going to be like, because the one thing that I've really liked about this run is that every story is a single issue, and every issue has been different.
Yep. Yeah, it's one of those ones you can walk in as a new reader and pick up issue number 4, and you'd get a brand new story, and you wouldn't miss anything.
Absolutely.
And it's a great read, man. They are 24 pages of awesome.
All right. Wolfgangg, your book of the week.
I'm actually really looking to Night World number 1 from Image. I don't know what it is about that. It's like this Jack Kirby style, but like weird kind of horror. I don't know. I have no idea really what to think of it yet. It's only a 4-issue miniseries, but I love what I've seen, and I'm really excited to read that first issue, and I'm really hoping that it doesn't disappoint.
You had me at Jack Kirby-esque.
Yeah, it's like if Jack Kirby drew.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just went to comiclist.com to see. I know I remember hearing about it, and I saw the cover, and I was like, oh yeah, now I remember. Yeah, that looks amazing.
It's like if he drew like Mexican wrestler demons, you know.
Perfect.
It looks like a luchador that just came from hell.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
And I don't know. Like I saw the preview, you know, like the first 5 pages or whatever, and it's just like I'll buy this and read it just for the art alone.
Oh yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping it does something for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Those sometimes are the best, though.
Yeah.
Jake, what
Sometimes
you
you got to lose yourself in just like a fun comic. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jake, what do you got?
My book of the week. It's always a great week when Green Arrow comes out.
Yes.
Absolute favorite artist, Andrea Sorrentino. However how you pronounce that. The art is amazing. Like, I need him on more books. Draw everything for like a month.
He's
Draw everything.
well,
Take all of my
he's
money.
going over to Marvel now that his DC exclusive is done. He's going over to Marvel. He's drawing one of the X-Men books
I hope so.
with
I want
Wolfgang's
him.
favorite writer.
Brian Michael Bendis.
Oh God.
All right. Well, that's gonna end our podcast for this week. Wolfgang, since you are our special guest, do you have anything you wanna tell people?
Go see Guardians of the Galaxy if you haven't already. If you haven't, I don't know what's wrong. Something's wrong with you, or your name is Alan Martin.
Hey! It's not that the desire's not there, man.
I know. I had to bust your chops a little bit.
It's okay.
But I really want to just say that movie, I went and saw it for the second time today, and I went in knowing that I wasn't going to enjoy it as much as I did the first time, and I was wrong. I did absolutely. That movie is phenomenally brilliant.
The way that I have been describing Guardians to people who haven't seen it is that it's one of the few times I've ever left a theater as an adult thoroughly enjoying a movie. It harkens back to like seeing Raiders of the Lost Ark or the original Star Wars movies, not the prequels. But like, when you walk out of a theater and you're just totally satisfied with what you saw.
Did you have a smile on your face the entire walkout?
Yeah, it may not be the strongest plotted Marvel movie. It may not be your favorite Marvel movie, but I'm going to tell you, if you're a fan of comic book movies, it's going to be in your top 5. You're just going to walk out of there going, this movie was really, really good. And if you can't make it to the theaters, at least get yourself prepared by watching George Lucas's Howard the Duck, because that will get you in the mood for some Guardians.
All right, that's going to end our podcast. Oh, Alan?
No, just real quick. I think that's the point with that movie. Marvel wants to show you how fun they can be.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to tie into any storyline right now. It doesn't have to be Avengers related. It doesn't have to tell you at the end credits what the next movie's going to be and what to look out for. It's just one of those movies where you can go in and you just expect to have a good time, and it sounds like they delivered. So.
Yeah.
And I will say, prepare yourselves for the Infinity War. It's coming.
Yep.
No.
Absolutely.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, no, this movie does a far better job of what Captain America the First Avenger was supposed to do, which it kind of, let's be honest, Captain America the First Avenger was there to set up the Avengers movie, and this is all to set up Avengers 3. It's to give you the backstory of a lot of the stuff that's going to play a major role in Avengers 3.
All right. Ryan, you need to stop talking. I know you can talk forever, but I've tried to end it 3 times now. Okay. All right, this is the podcast for the week.
Signing off.
Jake.
Adios.
Alan.
Ryan.
And
the man that needs no introduction, but he can. He needs to
do it anyways.
Yeah.
He needs an outroduction.
All right.
Wolfgangg out.
All right, guys. See you next week.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man. Is he strong? Listen, bud, he's got radioactive blood. Can he swing from a thread? Take a look overhead. Hey there goes the Spider-Man.